Humans weren't allowed near mythic ships, yet I found one at a scrap auction. Jax Marlowe had always felt out of place in the galaxy. Humans were rarely allowed near the great alien fleets, let alone the legendary ships that were said to roam the stars. To most aliens, humans were fragile, unpredictable, and too small to handle anything truly advanced. But Jax didn't care about what others thought. He had a gift for machines, for broken things, for turning scrap into something new. It was late in the galactic night when he stumbled across the advertisement. A small, flickering message scrolled across an illegal holoboard in the underbelly of Station Delta 9. Rare auction. Unclaimed ships of legends. Humans unwelcome. His heart skipped a beat. Unclaimed ships of legends, Jax muttered to himself. His curiosity, a trait that had gotten him into trouble more times than he could count, ignited. He knew he shouldn't go. Humans were forbidden from such auctions. Security would be harsh, and any human caught could face fines, or worse, expulsion from the station, or worse, being sent back to Earth with a warning stamp on their file. But the warning only made him move faster. By the time he arrived at the hidden docking bay, the air buzzed with activity. Ships of every shape and size were lined up, some small as pods, others massive, almost like floating fortresses. Alien bidders moved gracefully among the ships, their multi-limbed hands checking systems, scanning hulls, and whispering to each other in languages Jax didn't understand. A few eyes glanced at him, suspicious, but he kept his posture low and walked with the swagger of someone who belonged. He had to. At the far end of the bay, partially hidden by cargo cranes and shadows, was the ship he had heard about in rumors, the Mythic ship. Its hull was scratched, scorched, and missing panels. Lights flickered along its surface, like the heartbeat of something alive, waiting. The others ignored it, seeing only the damage, thinking it was junk. But Jax felt a strange pull. He could almost hear it calling him, whispering promises of adventure and discovery. "This is it," he whispered. "This is what I've been waiting for." Bidding had already begun, and the tension in the air was electric. Jax moved to the edge, careful to stay in the shadows. His heart pounded as alien voices shouted numbers, coordinates, and cryptic symbols. The ship wasn't expensive in currency. It was almost as if no one really wanted it. Its reputation alone should have made it priceless. But the Mythic ship had been forgotten, or deliberately ignored. Jax knew that the opportunity would not last. He checked his own limited credits. Not much, enough maybe, if he was clever. And he had something the aliens didn't: creativity and risk. When the auctioneer, a tall serpentine creature with silver scales, looked toward him and hissed, "Humans are forbidden here." Jax froze for half a second, but he quickly reached into his bag and pulled out a holographic disguise device he had built himself. In an instant, his features blurred and shimmered, taking on a generic alien form. It wasn't perfect, but in the dim light, it was enough. He stepped forward and bid. The aliens around him hissed, their many voices mixing in shock. He kept bidding, just enough to stay ahead. The tension rose. No one expected a human to compete. No one expected a human to win. And yet, somehow he did. The gavel-like sound rang through the bay. "Sold!" the crowd murmured in disbelief. The Mythic ship, abandoned and forgotten by the galaxy, was now in the hands of a human. Jax felt a thrill unlike anything he had ever known. He didn't stop to think of the consequences. He only thought of the ship, alive in ways he couldn't yet understand, waiting for him. Moving past the security checkpoints was another challenge. He ducked, dodged, and used his small size to slip through corridors and behind crates. A few guards noticed him, but by the time they approached, he had already reached the cargo bay. The ship waited silently, as if it knew he had come for it. He ran his hands over the hull. It was cool, but it seemed to hum under his touch. The panels vibrated slightly, and lights blinked in a pattern that felt almost like a greeting. Jax shivered with excitement. "I'll take care of you," he whispered. I'll fix you up." He struggled to get it out of the dock without attracting more attention. Moving a ship like this wasn't easy. It had no power, and no alien would help a human steal a mythic ship. Jax had prepared, though. Using old thrusters and remote tools, he slowly nudged it out of the docking bay, hiding his progress behind shipping containers and storage crates. Every time he saw an alien patrol, he froze, then moved when the coast was clear. Finally, the ship was clear. He felt a rush of relief and pride. He had done it. He had stolen a mythic ship, something that had been thought untouchable. But when he climbed aboard, the reality struck him. The ship wasn't just broken, it was alive. Systems flickered on and off. Lights pulsed like a heartbeat. Consoles displayed symbols that seemed to change when he looked away. A soft hum echoed through the halls of the ship, almost like it was breathing. Jax's hands shook as he tried to touch the controls. Nothing responded the way he expected. Some panels glowed briefly and then went dark. Some buttons pressed themselves and released strange sequences of light. He realized that this ship was testing him, challenging him, almost as if it were alive and wary of its new owner. "This isn't going to be easy," Jax muttered. "But I think we can work together." Hours passed as he explored the ship. He found storage compartments filled with tools and alien devices he had never seen. He discovered a small chamber that seemed to respond to his presence, lights turning on when he entered. And in the deepest section of the ship he felt a strange warmth, like the ship itself was watching, judging, waiting. Jax knew that if anyone discovered him here, it would mean trouble. Humans were not allowed on mythic ships, and if the alien authorities found out, they would stop at nothing to take the ship away. But he didn't care. For the first time in his life, he felt alive, like he had found his purpose. "This is only the beginning," he whispered. "We'll fix you. We'll make you whole again. And then, the galaxy won't know what hit it." As he sat in the cockpit, staring at the flickering controls, he realized that this was more than a ship. It was a companion, a puzzle, and a challenge all in one. The mythic ship had chosen him, or maybe he had chosen it. Either way, their journey had begun, and nothing in the galaxy could stop it. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, waiting. And for the first time, a human felt like he belonged among them. The first few days aboard the mythic ship were the hardest of Jax's life. Every time he tried to power up a system, it either failed or reacted in ways he didn't expect. Lights flickered across the panels, doors opened and closed at random, and the faint hum that had first drawn him to the ship now pulsed in irregular rhythms. "This is going to test me," Jax said aloud, his voice echoing in the empty corridors. "But I'm ready." He began by exploring the main deck. The controls were unlike anything he had ever seen. Buttons, levers, and touch panels seemed to change position depending on who approached. Some consoles displayed alien symbols that shifted like liquid. Others projected holographic screens showing images of distant stars, battles, and places Jax had never heard of. He reached for a panel and hesitated. His fingers brushed the surface, and suddenly the screen lit up with a scene of a massive fleet of alien ships, all moving in perfect formation. A low melodic sound filled the deck. Jax froze. He had no idea if the display was meant for him, or if it was the ship simply remembering its past. Okay, he whispered. "I can figure this out." Jax spent hours studying the systems, sketching notes in his journal, and trying small repairs. He replaced damaged circuits, reconnected broken conduits, and cleaned grime from critical panels. Each fix brought a subtle change. Lights glowed brighter, the hum became steadier, and for brief moments, the ship's doors responded when he called for them. But the ship had its own personality. It challenged him. Sometimes panels would lock him out. Sometimes engines would start and stop unexpectedly. He could swear the ship watched him, testing his patience, intelligence, and instincts. One night, as he worked late, he heard it, a whisper, a sound so soft he almost doubted it was real. Human. Jax froze. His heart raced. The voice wasn't mechanical. It was calm, measured, almost alive. I'm here, he said, unsure if he should speak aloud. The lights pulsed in response, brighter than before. Then the voice spoke again. You are... persistent. Jax laughed nervously. Persistent? That's one way to put it. The ship's hum shifted, almost like a chuckle. Jax realized the truth. The ship wasn't just a machine. It was alive. Intelligent. Judging him. Testing him. From that moment, their relationship changed. Jax approached the ship differently. He began to speak to it as if it could understand him. Which, it turned out, it could. Sometimes the ship would respond with lights and sounds. Other times, holographic images would appear, showing past missions, battle formations, or alien technology. One day, while working on the ship's energy core, Jax discovered a hidden compartment. Inside was a small device that seemed to pulse with power. He picked it up carefully. The moment he touched it, the ship's entire deck lit up with golden light. Holographic images of distant planets, fleets, and ancient cities filled the space around him. This is incredible, he whispered. The voice spoke again, this time clearer. You are worthy of discovery. Jax realized that the ship was testing him, not only for skill but for character. It had seen countless beings try to control it. None had succeeded. But humans, it seemed, had something different. Creativity, intuition, and resilience. The ship had waited for someone like him. Over the next few days, Jax learned to listen to the ship. He discovered that certain patterns of lights and sounds indicated system readiness, power levels, or warnings. He could almost predict its behavior. It was a partnership. Slowly, the ship began to trust him. One evening, Jax sat in the cockpit, exhausted from a long day of repairs. He looked at the flickering controls and sighed. I don't know if I'll ever understand all of you, he said quietly. But I'm going to try. I promise. The ship's hum shifted, warmer this time, almost like a sigh. A small panel lit up, displaying a holographic image of stars forming a path through the galaxy. Jax realized it was offering guidance, an invitation to explore, to learn, to travel. Excited, Jax began plotting a course. He wanted to test the ship, see if it could move, if it could respond to his commands. Carefully, he initiated the startup sequence. Lights flickered, engines whined, and the hum grew louder. The ship's doors sealed, the floor panels vibrated, and the entire deck seemed to breathe with anticipation. Then, with a sudden jolt, the engines roared to life. The ship lifted slightly off the ground, floating on the thin gravity of the asteroid hangar. Jax grinned. Yes, you can do it, he shouted, laughing. The ship responded by tilting slightly, as if nodding in approval. Jax realized it was communicating not with words, but with actions. Movements, lights, sounds, all part of a complex language he was only beginning to understand. Over the next week, Jax and the ship continued their tests. They practiced maneuvers, repaired damaged systems, and explored hidden sections of the ship. In one storage area, he found alien tools he didn't recognize. The ship guided him, showing how to use them safely. Some tools were delicate, almost like they required thought to operate. Others were powerful, capable of creating or destroying with a single motion. The more Jax worked, the more he realized how advanced this ship truly was. It wasn't just a machine. It was a relic of an era where beings had mastered the stars, where ships were more than metal. They were partners, companions, and warriors. One night, Jax was in the observation deck, staring out at the stars. He thought about the galaxy, about how humans had been kept away from great technology, about how the aliens always assumed they were fragile. "I guess they don't understand us," he murmured. The ship hummed softly, almost like agreement. Then, a new image appeared on the deck's central panel. A star system in turmoil, planets under threat, fleets preparing for battle, and a path leading to safety. "You want me to go there?" Jax asked aloud. The ship's lights blinked in a pattern he had learned to interpret. "Yes." Jax felt a thrill run through him. This was more than repair now. This was purpose. The ship had chosen him not just to fix it, but to act, to move through the galaxy, to protect, to explore, to learn. He spent hours preparing, calculating fuel, plotting a safe route, and testing systems. Every movement he made, the ship responded, guiding him with subtle cues. It was teaching him as much as he was teaching it. By the end of the week, Jax had done what no human had ever done before. He had awakened a mythic ship. It floated before him, powerful, alive, and ready for the galaxy. And yet, he knew this was only the beginning. Outside the hangar, stars sparkled endlessly, a vast universe waiting to be explored. Jack stood in the cockpit, hands on the controls, heart racing with anticipation. "I don't know what's out there," he said softly. "But I know one thing. Together, we can face it." The ship's hum grew louder, a steady, confident rhythm. It had accepted him. And now, the galaxy would have to watch. For the first time in history, a human was no longer just a passenger in the universe. He was a pilot, a partner, and a force to be reckoned with. And the mythic ship, once abandoned and forgotten, had finally found its rightful owner. The adventure was only beginning. The galaxy was a dangerous place for anyone, but especially for a human in possession of a mythic ship. Jax Marlowe had thought that awakening the ship and learning its ways would be the hardest part. He was wrong. The moment news of his acquisition spread, alarms rang across star systems. Aliens were furious, confused, and suspicious. No human had ever handled such a vessel, let alone one capable of immense power. From his hidden asteroid hangar, Jax watched the stars nervously. Sensors picked up multiple approaching ships, alien fleets moving faster than expected. They weren't here to negotiate. They were here to take the ship. "Looks like they don't like surprises," Jax muttered to himself, gripping the control panel tightly. The ship responded with a steady hum, almost reassuring. Lights flickered in a pattern he had learned to read. It was ready, it was confident, and it trusted him. Together, they could face this. Jax initiated the ship's engines. The hangar doors creaked and groaned under the sudden force as the massive vessel floated toward the open void. He could see small alien patrols closing in on the asteroid. His heart raced. Every movement mattered. Every decision counted. The first attack came in the form of sleek, fast interceptor ships. They darted toward him like a school of metallic fish, weapons glowing. Jax could see the aliens' faces through the transparent cockpits. They were certain that they had the upper hand. "Not today," Jax whispered. He activated the ship's maneuvering thrusters. The ship tilted, rolled, and spun in ways no conventional vessel could. The interceptors fired, lasers streaking through space, but the mythic ship moved with intelligence, weaving and gliding with fluid precision. Jax realized that the ship wasn't just responding to him. It was anticipating. It seemed to know where the attackers would go next, and it adjusted its own movements accordingly. "They didn't think humans could think like this," he said aloud, a grin spreading across his face. "Guess they were wrong." The interceptors tried to flank him, moving into what they thought was a blind spot. But Jax had learned to read the ship's subtle cues. A flicker of light, a vibration under his hands, a hum that rose and fell. It all guided him. With precise timing, he launched a countermeasure that disabled their engines without harming the pilots. The interceptors spun helplessly in space, forced to retreat. But the victory was short-lived. From the distance, larger warships appeared, massive cruisers armed with weapons capable of destroying entire planets. They moved in formation, like predators circling prey. Jax's heart sank. He was outmatched. "Looks like it's time to get creative," he said, slamming his hand on the control panel. The Mythic ship responded immediately. It extended energy fields around itself, creating a shimmering shield that distorted light and confused sensors. The hum grew louder, resonating with the ship's core power. Jax felt the vibrations through his chest, almost as if the ship was alive in a way that humans could truly feel. He remembered the alien tools he had found earlier, delicate devices that seemed to react to thought rather than touch. Carefully, he activated one. The tool emitted a wave that disrupted the cruiser's targeting systems. Lasers went off course. Weapons malfunctioned. The aliens growled in frustration as their most advanced ships struggled to hit their target. Jax's mind raced. The galaxy had never seen a human command a mythic ship in this way. Every move he made relied not on brute force, but on strategy, intuition, and unpredictability, the things the aliens never expected. As the battle continued, Jax noticed a fleet of mercenaries joining the attack. They weren't part of the official alien forces. They were rogue, opportunistic, hoping to capture the mythic ship for themselves. Jax smiled grimly. "You want a piece of this? Sure, come and try." The ship responded with sudden bursts of speed, darting between asteroids and debris. It seemed to know the terrain better than he did, leading him through twists and turns that left the enemy disoriented. One by one, the mercenary ships were disabled or forced to retreat. Hours passed like minutes. Jax's fingers were raw from gripping the controls. His mind ached from thinking 3 steps ahead. Yet he never felt fear, only exhilaration. For the first time, he realized the truth about humans. Adaptability, creativity, and courage weren't weaknesses. They were strengths, and, combined with a partner like the mythic ship, they were unstoppable. But the real challenge was yet to come. As he cleared the asteroid field, Jax noticed something alarming. On the edge of his sensors, a massive vessel, far larger than any he had seen before, appeared. Its hull gleamed like black crystal. It moved slowly, deliberately, almost as if it were aware of him, aware of the mythic ship. "This isn't just about me," Jax said, his voice tight with tension. "They want the ship, and they're serious." The ship's hum intensified. Lights flashed across the hull in patterns Jax had come to understand as warning signals. It was preparing. The massive vessel fired first, a beam that sliced through space like a bolt of white lightning. Jax barely managed to twist the ship out of the path in time. The beam struck an asteroid, sending chunks of rock spinning toward him. He had no time to react, except the ship did. It shifted its shields instinctively, deflecting the rocks and protecting them both. "Okay," Jax muttered. "Now we're playing for real." He began using the ship's systems in ways he hadn't tried before, improvising. Energy beams, countermeasures, and maneuvering thrusters all worked together in a dance of chaos and precision. The massive vessel couldn't predict his movements, couldn't anticipate the combination of human creativity and ship intelligence. Suddenly, he noticed a smaller signal on his radar, something moving inside the enemy vessel. He realized the aliens weren't just attacking. They were trying to board the ship, perhaps to shut it down from within. "Not on my watch," Jax said. He activated internal defenses, a series of holographic barriers and traps the ship revealed to him. Lights and energy fields created illusions, confusing the enemy boarding teams. One by one, they were neutralized without harm, retreating in frustration. Exhausted but exhilarated, Jax realized the full scope of the battle. He wasn't just fighting for survival. He was proving something bigger than himself. Humans had been underestimated for centuries. The galaxy had written them off. But here, in the midst of chaos, a human and a mythic ship were rewriting history. Hours later, The enemy fleets finally retreated. Jax floated in the calm void of space, breathing heavily. He looked around at the stars, feeling the ship's steady hum through the cockpit. "You did great," he said softly. "We did great." The ship's lights blinked in agreement, and for the first time, Jax felt a deep sense of belonging. He wasn't just a human engineer anymore. He was a pilot, a strategist, a partner to a living legend of the stars. But even in victory, he knew the challenges were far from over. Rumors of the Mythic ship's awakening would spread. Other factions, more powerful and more dangerous, would come for them. And yet, Jax felt no fear. The ship and he were a team, unstoppable in ways the galaxy had never imagined. "Let them come," Jax whispered, a determined grin spreading across his face. "We'll be ready." The stars stretched endlessly before him, and for the first time he realized the true potential of what they had. Not just survival, not just escape, but a chance to change the galaxy's view of humans forever. And as the ship glided silently among the stars, Jax understood one thing clearly. This was only the beginning. The real challenge, the one that would prove humanity's worth, was still ahead. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. News of a human piloting a mythic ship spread like wildfire. Across star systems, the whispers turned into alarms. High-ranking alien authorities debated what to do. Fleet commanders argued, politicians demanded, and mercenaries salivated at the thought of capturing such a legendary vessel. And yet, here Jax Marlowe was, floating calmly through space with the ship he had awakened. He felt a strange calmness. He had faced the first wave of attackers, navigated asteroid fields and outsmarted fleets. But now, a far greater challenge awaited, proving that humans were more than fragile creatures, more than observers, more than mere bystanders in a galaxy ruled by advanced alien species. The alert came suddenly. Sensors picked up a massive anomaly, a powerful alien warship, unlike anything Jax had seen before. Its hull gleamed with energy, weapons bristling along every surface, and the air in the cockpit seemed to thrum with tension. This wasn't an opportunistic attack. This was the galaxy's test. "They've sent everything they have," Jax said softly, gripping the controls. "And we'll show them what humans can do." The ship responded with a deep, steady hum. Lights pulsed across the panels, faster now, almost like a heartbeat syncing with Jax's own. He felt confidence surge through him. Together, they could do this. The first wave of attacks came from smaller ships, interceptors and scouts meant to probe his defenses. Jax didn't panic. He had learned to read the ship's subtle signals, the flickers of light, the vibrations under his hands. Each movement became instinct. He guided the ship through twists and spins, dodging beams and launching countermeasures that disrupted engines and weapons without harming the pilots. But the real test was the massive warship. It began firing. Energy bolts shot through space, massive enough to destroy moons. Jax's heart raced, but the ship's shields flared, bending light and energy around them. They were safe for now. "This is insane," Jax muttered. "But we can do this." He remembered something the ship had shown him, a hidden sequence in its core systems, a method to amplify its power without damaging itself. It required precision, timing, and trust between pilot and vessel. Jax knew it was risky. If he failed, they could both be destroyed. "Trust me," he whispered. "We're going to try something new." The ship responded with a soft hum, almost like a nod. Jax initiated the sequence. Panels lit up, and a golden glow spread across the hull. Energy arched around them in patterns that pulsed with power. The massive warship fired again, but its beams were distorted, refracted by the ship's shields, harmlessly scattering into space. Jax pushed further. He used the ship's knowledge, combining it with his human ingenuity. He launched precise energy waves that interfered with the enemy vessel's systems. Engines stuttered. Weapons misfired. Their massive advantage was gone. The alien commanders were shocked. No human had ever dared approach a mythic ship, let alone manipulate it so cleverly. Every move Jax made was unpredictable, creative, and effective. They had relied on brute force and superior technology. He relied on adaptability, intuition, and trust. But the battle wasn't over. Boarding drones emerged, attempting to infiltrate the ship. Jax reacted immediately. Using the ship's internal defenses, he created holographic barriers and energy fields that forced the drones back. Some were captured safely and disabled, some retreated, and some were trapped in a stasis field. Not a single life was lost. Hours passed like minutes. Jax moved seamlessly with the ship, dodging attacks, countering threats, and gradually turning the tide. The galaxy was witnessing something extraordinary, a human commanding a mythic ship in a way no alien ever could. Finally, the massive warship's commander sent a transmission. The screen lit up with a tall, multi-limbed alien, its voice booming. "Human, you cannot possibly control that ship. Surrender or be destroyed." Jax leaned forward, determination blazing in his eyes. "I'm not surrendering. You don't understand humans. We're adaptable. We're creative. And we don't give up." There was silence on the other side. Then the alien's eyes widened. They had underestimated him. Completely. Jax smiled. He had one final move. Using the ship's amplified core energy, he created a massive energy pulse, not to destroy, but to disable. The warship's systems froze, weapons shut down, engines stalled. It drifted helplessly in space, unable to continue its attack. For the first time, Jax realized the full potential of the ship. It wasn't just a weapon or a relic. It was a guardian, capable of protecting civilizations, preventing wars, and challenging the galaxy's assumptions about humans. The alien commander, now powerless, transmitted again. We acknowledge your skill. You, human, are worthy." Jax's heart raced. Worthy. After everything, the galaxy was finally seeing humans in a new light. Not fragile, not insignificant, powerful, intelligent, and capable. The ship pulsed with approval, golden lights radiating across its hull. Jax realized that it wasn't just him being recognized. The ship itself was alive, and it had chosen him not merely as a pilot, but as a partner, a guardian. News of the battle spread quickly. Across star systems, beings of all species debated, discussed, and marveled. Humans had proven themselves, not through brute force, but through ingenuity, creativity, and courage. Jax didn't celebrate. He had work to do. The galaxy was vast, and threats were endless. But now, humans had a place in it. He and the ship were a symbol of possibility, of potential, of hope. Days later, Jax piloted the mythic ship to a neutral star system, a safe zone where alien leaders had convened to discuss the future. He was nervous, but resolute. When he arrived, representatives from dozens of species gathered, eyes wide at the sight of a human commanding a mythic ship. "This human," one of the leaders said, "has controlled a vessel no other species could. He has protected life without unnecessary violence. He has outmaneuvered our fleets, and he has survived where others would have failed." Jax stepped forward, standing in front of the massive crowd. His heart pounded. "We humans may seem small. We may seem fragile. But we are capable. We are adaptable. And we are willing to learn, to protect, and to fight for what is right." The crowd was silent. Then, slowly, they began to nod, murmurs spreading through the assembly. Aliens who had once dismissed humans as weak now looked at them with respect. The galaxy had changed its mind. The ship's hum vibrated through Jax's body. It had guided him, tested him, and now celebrated with him. Together they had shown that humans could rise to greatness. In the weeks that followed, Jax and the Mythic ship traveled across star systems. They stopped conflicts, aided civilizations in danger, and uncovered ancient technologies that had been lost for centuries. Everywhere they went, humans were no longer ignored. They were respected. They were seen. Yet even as they traveled, Jax knew the adventure was far from over. The galaxy was vast, filled with mysteries, dangers, and opportunities. And the Mythic ship, alive and aware, had more secrets to share. One evening, as Jax gazed out at the stars, the ship projected a new set of coordinates. A cluster of unknown systems, ancient ruins, and hidden technology awaited them. Jax's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Ready for the next adventure?" he asked. The ship's lights pulsed brightly, almost like a smile. Always, it seemed to say. Together, human and Mythic ship, they would explore, protect, and prove the worth of humanity across the galaxy. For the first time, humans had a chance not just to survive among the stars, but to thrive, to lead, and to show that even the smallest beings could achieve greatness. And as the ship soared into uncharted space, Jax knew one thing for certain: the galaxy would never underestimate humans again.